أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم استر. The way of tasawwuf is something that is not open. It is something that is underneath. It is something that is hidden. Just as this body, inside of it is a spirit, and the spirit is hidden, so there is a zahir form in Islam, and there's a batin form in Islam. And the batin, the spiritual, is the way of the Holy Prophet ﷺ that he has brought us 1400 years ago, and this is called tasawwuf. It was a reality without a name at that time. As the awliya Allah, they say, now it is a name without a reality. We don't like to use the words tasawwuf, Sufi, Sufism, because everyone is using it these days. And those who are using and being very proud with it, we are looking. Their way is not our way. And because the way it is hidden, tasawwuf in its history has always been blamed, has always been slandered, has always been maligned, has always been misunderstood. By who? By good people, by religious people, by people who don't understand or who cannot see the batin, the spiritual. And all they can see and judge is just the external. And there is a danger in that, because if we are judging according to the external is not real. The external, it is holding something which is real. It is the spirit that brings life to the body. The body does not bring life to the spirit. So there are many things in tasawwuf that people are not understanding. People have never understood since that day up till today. Those things, even from the time of the Sahaba Kiram, because there are certain things that should not be opened up to everyone. Either everyone is going to abuse it, or they're not going to understand it, and they go into deviation even more. But it doesn't mean that tasawwuf it is wrong. Tasawwuf it is the spirit, is the essence of Islam. Now when we come into certain practices in tasawwuf, and dancing is one of the practices, we have to understand first, what are these practices for? What is the intention of these practices? Who put them in there? What is the original intention? And what is the effect that comes out from these practices? For example, zikr, it is something that you cannot argue. That zikr is something which is sunnat. To praise the Holy Prophet ﷺ in whichever form is something that you cannot argue about, because Allah and His angels praise the Prophet ﷺ. So now there are certain practices in tasawwuf. If the practices, they are according to what the Prophet ﷺ brought, and is for the intention of praising Allah and giving salawat to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, in which 40 tarikats, real sheikhs, real tarikats, that they are bringing certain practices, we cannot even have a tongue to say anything about them, because our knowledge has not reached nowhere to judge them. Nowhere. If you think knowledge of Islam or knowledge of the hadith or the practices of the Prophet ﷺ is only contained in 6 books, then something must not be right in your head. How can one man's work, his whole life, be contained in just 6 books? Your own life, if you write down everything that you do and you think about, will not be just 6 books. It is more. What about that one who is the Habib of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? There are those, if they want to consult whether it's a sunnah or not, they open a book and they check it. And there are those that if they want to understand whether there is sunnah or not, all they have to do is close their eyes and make the rabita to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and the answer is given to them right away. Because there are those that the Prophet ﷺ taught physically through the Zahir methods, and there are some that he taught through the batin, through the heart. And the Zahir will always have problems with the batin, not the other way around. The batin will not have the problems with the Zahir. You know why? Because once, like what Shaykh and Shaykh Mawlana says, once we free the spirit and the spirit covers the body, because right now the spirit is a prisoner inside the body. Once we make the body a prisoner inside the spirit, then that time, Tai Zaman, Tai Mekan. There is time inside of time and space inside of space. That time the body will not be a slave to the laws of physical creation. Because now the body is a prisoner inside the spirit. And the spirit, it is boundless. So there are certain practices, even during the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Understand this, even in his time, that only certain Sahabis they know and other Sahabis they don't know. That there was knowledge that was given at that time, that certain Sahabis said, like who? Like Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, like Hazrat Abu Hurairah, and some others that they say, if I open up this knowledge that the Prophet taught to me, they will cut my neck off. Who? The Sahabis. The other ones are going to cut their neck off. Meaning, there are some teachings that you have to be prepared. You have to have a groundwork. You have to have an understanding. Because if the teachings are just out there, people are just going to say, what is this? They don't understand it because there is no foundation. And they will say this is wrong. Now when we come to certain practices in tasawwuf, in tarikats, and one of the practices say, dancing. We have to know that this is not dancing. It is a form of worship. It is not sama, it is not music. It is a worship. It is not poetry, it is a worship. These are different ways to worship. Usually people are saying, oh, is this sunnat? What do you know about sunnat? What do you know that are in the books? What do you know that is not in the books? What if I tell you it is sunnat to on one leg jump up and down and to praise the Prophet? What if I were to tell you that? So many are going to say, of course this is not. What a ridiculous behavior it is. Jumping up and down on one leg. What a foolish thing it is to go turn around and around and around. Nobody ever did this. Prophet did not do this. Then that is already showing to you that you have so little knowledge of open hadith, written hadith. If you don't have that knowledge, we cannot even sit down to speak to each other. We cannot, because you will not understand. All you have in front of you is just your ego. It is not to try to understand, it's just your ego. And if 40 prophets come in to try to convince you, you're going to say they're all wrong. For your information, yes, that's what they did. Who did? Ja'far al-Tayyar, Hazrat Lari. And there were two others in that room with the Holy Prophet ﷺ. When he praised them, something overtook them, that they start jumping up and down, circling around the Prophet, tawaf, and singing his praises. This is only very little. We're not gathering here as an academic class. You can find all this out if you know how to check your Facebook. You can understand how to find this. It's very easy. Turning around and around, there was Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq. I've said this story so many times. So there are certain kinds of movements which people say is dancing. And these movements, if they have been allowed by the peer of that tariqat, if they have been allowed by the grand sheikhs of that tariqat, if it is something that is mainstream in that tariqat, you have to understand. Tariqat Tasawwuf is part of Ahl Sunnah wa Jamaat. It is not a deviation from it. This is Akhir Zaman. People misunderstand so many things. In the time of the Ottomans, Sufism and Tasawwuf was the belief of a whole empire. But because the Ottomans fell, now Wahhabism became the mentality of the whole Islamic nation. Even when they call themselves Ahl Sunnat, they have Wahhabi tendencies. They see something they don't understand, first thing they say, that one is wrong Aqidah. Wrong Aqidah is calling that one a kafir. I've seen people looking at certain videos of our Grand Sheikh, and some people, they are dancing a little crazy. It's showing, number one, you think you are very superior. You're so arrogant, and you have no shame to look at 80-year-old man with a long beard. You don't know him from nothing. All you need to do, all you did was just to judge based on one thing, and you don't even understand why that was happening. So you have some crazy people coming in, and they're jumping up and down in front of him. They're making some weird movements in front of him. Do you know who these people are that he picked up from the jungles outside just one day ago? That they were jumping up and down in discourse, and now at least they're jumping down, up and down and saying Allah. That we are now entering into the second Jahiliyyah. And like it was in the first Jahiliyyah, the first thing that has to be taught is La ilaha illallah, to make people to say Allah. Do you have enough wisdom, enough intelligence, and enough heart to look, or are you just judging? Majority, they are judging. There's no Ahl Sunnat left. It's finished. There's no Ahl Sunnat scholars left. It's finished. Now, Islam has just become something which is private. Individual or community or just one nation. It is no longer an ummat. How can it be? When the keeper of the Ahl Sunnat way, when the protector of the Ahl Sunnat way was brought down 100 years ago. Are we understanding history of how people who are calling themselves Ahl Sunnat, but because the dunya is shackling them everywhere, and they start fighting with each other, and although there was a Khalifa at that time, nobody was listening to him. You're understanding what the Umayyas and what the Abbasis they were doing? That the wrong teachings of Shiism started to overtake everywhere. That it wasn't until the Seljuks who came to re-establish Ahl Sunnat. Otherwise, Ahl Sunnat Aqidah would be completely gone. And who came after the Seljuks to bring up and to uphold the Ahl Sunnat way and the spiritual Ahl Sunnat way, which is Tasawwuf? The Osmans, the Ottomans. And they held that high. For 600 years they held that high. And when the Ummah say, we don't want Ahl Sunnat way. And when that came down, so now everyone is broken into 1,000 pieces. And everyone is thinking they're still following Ahl Sunnat way, but it's broken from each other. Broken from everything. Broken from the Ahl Sunnat way. So there's teachings in tariqat. So many teachings you don't understand. You may not understand. Be busy with yourself. Don't be busy judging them. Don't be busy making fatwas to one another. Are there certain things that people from tariqats that they're doing that is a deviation, that is wrong? Yeah, why not? Are we saying tasawwuf is perfect? Who said that? But if you are going to judge because a few people are doing it wrongly, are you going to say everything it is wrong? Then we say congratulations, you're behaving exactly how certain square-head non-Muslims that they are also saying and doing. Saying a couple of terrorists, they say Allahu Akbar and they do things that is not according to Islam. And because they're doing that, the whole Muslim ummah, they're being blamed for that. You're doing exactly what they're doing. You're no different from them. Judging the whole group for the actions of a few, but not even understanding what the actions of a few, not even understanding what that group is. So, you are following a shaykh. Follow that one. We are following a shaykh. There are certain practices that is in our tariqat that he is approving. And there are certain practices that he is not approving. In our Jamaat, the loud zikr that we are doing is very strict. The silent zikr is strict. If there is a hadra that is going on, that's a different story a little bit. If it is just people feeling very good and feeling very happy and they are celebrating Bayram or celebrating some holy day and they are jumping up and down and saying Allah and they're moving a little bit, let's say on those circumstances, because of those circumstances and also because it is protected, those circumstances, it may be okay only for those circumstances. Inshallah, people with intelligence will understand. Those who have no intelligence will not understand nothing. Like what Nasruddin Hoja is saying, you can bring 100 scholars to me and I can defeat them in arguments, but bring one idiot in front of me and I will lose. So this world now is filled with idiots. May Allah protect us from becoming idiots. We are spending too much time just trying to defend ourselves, that we don't have time to do what we're supposed to do. Our job is not to defend ourselves so much. It's to defend truth. Wa min Allahu tawfiq al-Fatiha.